evening. I'm Susan Frawley, and welcome to the Rainbow Review, a weekly news program dedicated to bringing you the week's most notable LGBTQ news stories and events. The Rainbow Review will generally consist of news stories, a community calendar, and a guest speaker. If you have items to contribute to the calendar or wish to be a guest on our show, email us at therainbowr@gmail.com. Normally, we like to start our broadcast with a positive story, but tonight we lead with one on a homophobic attack that deserves our attention. In Atlanta, Georgia, a man is in jail after a particularly violent attack on two gay men. Anthony Gooden and his boyfriend, Marquez Tolbert, were asleep in Mr. Gooden's mother's home when they were attacked by her boyfriend, Martin Blackwell. Mr. Blackwell went to their room and poured boiling water on the victims because he said he was disgusted with the relationship. The Rainbow Review has declined to show pictures of the victims' injuries from the attacks. The attack happened last February, but we are only learning of it now. Mr. Blackwell is still in jail, charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery. He was not going to be charged with a hate crime, as Georgia doesn't include sexual orientation in its hate crime laws. But the FBI has opened a federal investigation into the incident, which means he could face federal hate crime charges despite the lack of state anti-gay laws. Mr. Tolbert underwent a skin graft, replacing the severely scarred skin across his back with skin from his thighs. A GoFundMe fundraiser has been started to help Mr. Tolbert pay his medical bills. You can contribute at the GoFundMe page at www.gofundme.com/HRRPB9E4.
And so it's like, just the wall was right here. Anthony was behind. So once the water hit, I smacked the wall and then shot out of bed. Just was flailing around screaming, yes.
2 weeks ago, we reported on the sexual assault of a freshman at a high school in Philadelphia. According to Philadelphia TV station WPVI, on March 17th, the Tredyffrin Easttown School District released a letter announcing the coach's resignation. District Attorney Tom Hogan said the 3 17-year-old students at Conestoga High School are being charged as juveniles with assault and other crimes. While hazing is considered a crime in Pennsylvania, it is only considered a crime in colleges, but not at high schools. We will bring you more on this story as it develops. And now, here is Stephen with more news. Good evening, Stephen. How are you tonight?
I'm great, Susan.
That's good. Did you have a good break over Easter?
It was a little stressful, but it's good now.
Okay, good. It's Easter break, but it wasn't actually Easter yet. So
No.
we should say it was Easter break. So
CSU Chico likes us to have free time during St. Patrick's Day.
good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Good evening. I'm Stephen Ryan. A gay couple has become the first same-sex couple to be married in a federal immigration center. Tom Swan, 58, and Guillermo Hernandez, 21, were married on March 14th at the Imperial Regional Detention Facility in Calexico. Mr. Hernandez has lived in the USA since age 7 as an undocumented immigrant, when he was brought to Palm Springs by his parents. He has been at the center awaiting deportation for the last 2 months, after being arrested for drug-related crimes. The marriage was approved by both the facility's warden and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Mr. Swan has said he will be considering moving if Mr. Hernandez is deported. Senator Jim DeBacchus of the Utah State Senate took drastic and unusual action in order to sabotage an amendment which would have defined a married couple as husband and wife for tax purposes. The Utah State Senate originally passed the bill, and then a House committee sent it back to the Senate late on March 14th in order to get approval. It was 11:57 p.m. when the vote on the bill was started. The senator, when it was his turn to vote, cleared his throat and sneezed continually until the session expired at midnight. For the first time in history, LGBTQ groups have been allowed to march in the New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade. The annual event, which attracts over 1 million tourists each year, had maintained a ban on gay groups due to the influence of anti-LGBTQ Catholic groups. Both the Irish Queers and the Lavender and Green Alliance were able to march under their own banners. Parade organizer John Labey said that this will be the most inclusive parade in the 255-year history of the parade. Some of the hardline Catholic groups who previously supported the parade declined to attend this year due to the new policy.
I am so proud to be marching in the St. Patrick's Day Parade with Lavender and Green Alliance, Muintir Éireach na hÉireann. That's what our banner says. Lavender and Green Alliance, Muintir Éireach na hÉireann, celebrating Irish lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender culture and identity. We have waited for this moment for 25 years. Today is the first time an Irish LGBT group will be on the avenue with our banner. It's huge.
Raffi Friedman-Gerspan made history last year when she became the first openly trans White House employee. She has made history again by being the first trans person appointed as the top liaison to the LGBTQ community for President Obama's administration. Ms. Friedman-Gerspan has previously worked as an outreach and recruitment director in the Office of Personnel. She was also a policy advisor for the National Center for Transgender Equality's Racial and Economic Justice Initiative. One of the most outspoken homophobic men in America has been voted onto the committee that sets the platforms and positions that the Republican Party will take to the 2016 election. Family Research Council President Tony Perkins announced his election to the Republicans' Platform Committee via a press release on March 16th, in which he bragged about his success in 2012 in strengthening the party's opposition to same-sex marriage. Perkins has repeatedly compared homosexuality to pedophilia throughout his career and has claimed the LGBTQ community actively seeks to recruit young people into their lifestyle. Perkins wrote in a statement distributed online, "We may not know who will be representing the GOP at the Republican National Convention, but I know one person who will be representing Louisiana, me." Tyler Dunnington was a pick by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 2014 Major League Baseball draft, but he quit after only one season. The reason he gave is that he was uncomfortable with all of the homophobia he heard while being a member of the team. He remembers the coach making a bragging reference to the brutal murder of gay college student Matthew Shepard, whose death led to federal hate crime legislation in the U.S., and saying, "We kill gay people in Wyoming." Mr. Dunnington says he is speaking out now because he is sorry for not using his position on the team to help change the game. The Cardinals general manager, John Mozeliak, said the team is looking into Mr. Dunnington's allegation.
The fight to have a gay-straight alliance at a high school in Winchester, Tennessee is still continuing. The GSA club met for the first time in January, and opponents compared the club to the terror group ISIS and demand that some school officials resign for allowing the group. Mass Resistance and Liberty Council, both classified as anti-LGBTQ hate groups by the Progressive Southern Poverty Law Center, have joined the fight. Liberty Council has reportedly offered legal assistance to the GSA's opponents, while Mass Resistance founder Brian Kameneker came in from Massachusetts to attend March 14th's school board meeting. Before the meeting, Mr. Kameneker said in an interview about the club that it's vile. All of this sexual weirdness targeted to this community, adding that GSAs lead to homosexual pornography and hand out anti-Christianity pamphlets. And that if such clubs make young people feel good about being gay, it's the worst thing that could happen to them. The school board will discuss the new club policies further, such as a requirement that students obtain parental approval to join and vote on them in April. Supporters for the GSA object to the idea of requiring parental consent to join, as this may keep out students who need the club most because they're not supported at home. The school explained that under the Federal Equal Access Act, it required to allow the GSA if it allows other extracurricular clubs. Both houses of the Kansas legislature have passed a bill that would allow student groups at public colleges and universities to engage in discrimination as long as the discrimination is rooted in what they call sincerely held religious beliefs. The Kansas House of Representatives approved the measure, Senate Bill 175, on March 15th. Following the Senate's approval in the 2015 session, it now goes to Republican Governor Sam Brownback for a signature or veto. The bill would prevent schools from denying funds or space on campus to faith-based groups that make adherence to certain beliefs a condition of membership or leadership. Its supporters say it's necessary to preserve the religious integrity of these organizations, while opponents say it's a license to discriminate while receiving public financing. The Kansas Board of Regents, which governs public universities in the state, has adopted a broad non-discrimination policy, and so has the University of Kansas. The Board of Regents had warned that the legislation could put Kansas public universities at risk of losing federal funds.
The Faroe Islands, a self-governing archipelago and part of Denmark, has rejected same-sex marriage. The 18 islands, located between Iceland and Norway in the North Atlantic Ocean, remains the only Nordic country to not have adopted same-sex unions in any form. In a 2013 poll, 2/3 of the inhabitants said they support same-sex marriage, but the proposal was voted down in Parliament by a vote of 26-7. Denmark legalized same-sex marriage in 2012. Northern Ireland's Court of Appeal has ruled that Ireland's health minister and not the UK health secretary should decide on whether to lift the lifetime ban that prevents gay and bisexual men from donating blood. The ban has been in place since the 1980s and was introduced in response to the emergence of the AIDS crisis. Current Health Minister Simon Hamilton has previously indicated that he is prepared to lift the ban if the government advisory body says they believe it is safe to do so. Blanket bans on gay men donating blood were introduced in most areas around the world, but several countries have recently lifted the bans or shortened the deferral period that gay men have to wait before donating blood. Since 2011, in England, Scotland, and Wales, gay men have been able to donate blood if they have not had sex with another man in over a year. Some rare good news out of Africa. Botswana's Court of Appeals has found that it is unlawful for the government to try to refuse to register the group Lesbians, Gays, and Bisexuals of Botswana. Botswana's highest court has confirmed that it is illegal for the government to refuse to register LGBTQ rights organizations in an effort to thwart their ability to campaign for law reform around homosexuality. Botswana is one of the few countries in the world where sex between women is technically outlawed, along with sex between men. The law has rarely been enforced over the last decade, and recent polling found that almost half the population of Botswana would not mind having a gay or lesbian person as their neighbor.
The governor of Georgia, Republican Nathan Deal, has suggested that he is against signing a religious freedom bill which would allow anti-LGBTQ discrimination. Bill HB 757 unanimously passed in the House of Representatives with a vote of 161-0 last month. It also passed in the House again by 104-65 on March 16th, after extra protections were added, meaning businesses and employees could discriminate against LGBTQ people. According to the Human Rights Campaign, the new provisions in the bill could undermine local non-discrimination ordinances that protect LGBTQ people and permit hospitals to refuse to provide medically necessary care or allow a taxpayer-funded service provider to discriminate by denying a job because of the applicant's religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. The governor told reporters that, "We do not have a belief, in my way of looking at religion, that says that we have to discriminate against anybody. I think what the New Testament teaches us is that Jesus reached out to those who were considered outcasts." Numerous businesses have said they will leave Georgia if they pass the bill. Falcons owner Arthur Blank said March 18th that he opposed the bill and that NFL acknowledged that passage of the bill could have an impact on the selection process for the championship game in 2019 and 2020. Top executives from the St. Louis area, representing Monsanto, MasterCard, and other firms, expressed opposition to a proposed religious freedom law in Missouri. The National Collegiate Athletic Association, in a similar move to that of the NFL in Georgia, said that the state's law could jeopardize its willingness to locate future basketball tournaments in the state. They said the bill could have a negative impact on the state's economy. It was passed in the Senate and has now moved to the House for approval.
Kentucky has also passed a bill that protects businesses from civil damages and legal fees for refusing to participate in same-sex marriage celebrations due to religious objections. The bill now goes to the Kentucky House for approval, but the House is controlled by the Democrats. Bill 180 was passed by a vote of 22 to 16 on March 15th. I'd like to take a moment to talk to you briefly about religious freedom bills. I know it can seem confusing trying to keep track of all of the proposed legislation. Not only are some states implementing the laws for the first time, but others are trying to make ones that already exist more restrictive. On top of that, counties and some cities also have proposed their own religious freedom bills. Since same-sex marriage was passed in 2014, there has been a backlash in the form of religious freedom bills in a number of states. There are 21 states in the United States that have passed these bills. Most of these bills allow faith-based religious organizations to discriminate against LGBTQ people based on a sincerely held religious belief. These laws allow businesses the right to deny services to LGBTQ people, fire them from their jobs, and deny them the right to rent or buy a house because it goes against that person's religious beliefs. The first was passed in 1993 in Connecticut. Before gay marriage was legalized, there were 19 states with these laws. Since it was legalized, 12 states have introduced these types of bills. They have failed in 6 states and are still pending in 6 more. Many states that already have these in place are making them even harsher. At least 26 states have considered some sort of new religious freedom protection bill since 2015. We will endeavor to try and keep up with the various legislation being brought up throughout the country. That is the news this week, and now here's Stephen with this week's Community Calendar.
Coming up from March 30th to April 3rd is Trans Week, with a number of events hosted by CSU Chico, GCAC, Stonewall, and other organizations. On Wednesday, March 30th, What's Up Wednesday will be tabling at the U-Hub from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. March 31st is the International Transgender Day of Visibility. April 1st, from 9 a.m. to 4:15 p.m., there will be medical training for mental, medical, social, and other healthcare professionals, educators, and other service providers. This will be held at the First Christian Church at 295 East Washington Avenue in Chico. At 1 p.m., there will be training and awareness about transgender spiritual needs and sensitivity in spiritual communities and communities of faith. It is open to lay, clergy, key leaders, and any faithful who want to learn more. It is interfaith and all are welcome. A teen dance will be held on April 1st from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. There will be a DJ, live music, food, and refreshments. This event is only open to anyone between the ages of 13 and 18. April 2nd, a meeting for parents of trans youth will be held from 10 a.m. to noon, and that same day will also be the Trans Art Show opening celebration. On April 3rd, from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., will be the Trans Community Brunch at Habitat's Labs at 199 East 13th Street in Chico. GSEC's Trans Conference will be on April 3rd from 12:30 to 5 p.m. in the CSU Chico Hub. And on April 4th from 2 to 3:30 p.m., there will be a trans panel at Diversity Days at Butte College. On Saturday, March 26th, Stonewall is having free HIV testing at 9 a.m. All cases are confidential. And don't forget that at the Maltese, every Wednesday is Wednesday. That is this week's calendar. Now here's Susan with our special guest.
Good evening. This week our special guests are from Catalyst Domestic Violence Services. We have Melody Prepstall and Sarah Sullivan. Good evening, Melody.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
And good evening, Sarah.
Good evening.
Okay, with Melody, would you like to tell us what your title is at Catalyst?
Yeah, I'm the Education and Outreach Program Coordinator.
Okay, and Sarah?
I'm the LGBTQ plus outreach specialist.
Oh, awesome. So first things first, why don't you tell us, Melody, a little bit about what Catalyst is and what they do?
Sure. So Catalyst is the local domestic violence agency. We provide services for people who experience abuse within intimate relationships. And that can look a lot of different ways, but we really work on helping people kind of identify what their needs are and helping them to obtain goals, whether that's staying in the relationship and finding safety or finding safety outside of the relationship.
And what are some of the ways you do that?
So we have a hotline number that people can call 24 hours a day, and that number is 1-800-895-8476. We also have drop-in centers in both Chico and Oroville, and so those are open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and people can come in and talk with an advocate about their situation and get ideas for resources. We provide counseling in both of those offices as well. So individual counseling is available. We do a variety of different kinds of advocacy services, including things like restraining orders. We help people with filing for the restraining orders, and then we'll go with them to court when they have the restraining order hearing. We
That's
can't
awesome.
speak, but just to be there as a support
awesome
person.
To be there for the
Yeah.
So.
And we also have a shelter. I guess I should mention that.
Yes, that's right. You do, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, we have an emergency shelter with 32 beds, and then and also we have a transitional housing program for I think we have 3 or 4 cottages. We have 4 cottages now, and so those are available. They're kind of a single family unit for up to 18 months.
Wow.
And we are in the process of developing and implementing a new rapid rehousing program. And so that's for people who may have some barriers to housing, but are able to kind of, with our support, get into a housing. So helping them to kind of navigate some of those issues.
That's pretty awesome. I really like that.
Yeah.
So now, Sarah, why don't you tell us about the LGBTQ programs that you have at Catalyst, please?
Okay, so all of our services are open and available to LGBTQ plus individuals. We have the LGBTQ plus program idea just to really show that we're a safe place for people in the community regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation. And we recognize that there are added barriers for the LGBTQ plus community. So people have different levels of outness, understanding that the services are available to them, and making sure that our staff is well educated on the LGBTQ plus community and issues affecting them. And we also do outreach to the community itself. So I'm working on developing a youth program for the local GSAs. And so going in there and talking with them maybe monthly or like once a semester to talk about healthy relationships and what that looks like within a queer relationship, and just really prioritizing that in your life and building self-esteem.
I really like that, because I think we were talking about this when they first arrived earlier, is that the LGBTQ So the LGBTQ community isn't always aware that there are services for them because we don't talk a lot about domestic violence in our relationships. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the topics that people avoid talking about, especially because the LGBTQ plus community is a marginalized community, and so just trying to get respect in our community to begin with, you don't want to bring around the negative topics, but realizing that it definitely is an issue that affects us, and talking about ways to prevent that.
Cool, that's awesome. And so they can come to Catalyst, and they have you and or someone else or a counselor that they can talk to, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All of our staff are trained in kind of understanding some of the challenges and barriers for people who identify as LGBTQ, and also just kind of acknowledging the challenges for people in terms of coming out and recognizing their relationships, and that they're, when they're seeking services, that's a barrier for them as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, just real quick here to talk about this, you have 2 events, it looks like, coming up in the next 2 months. Do you want to tell me about those, please, one of you?
Yeah, sure. So the first event coming up is Youth Empowered Conference, and that is a free one-day conference for 7th to 12th grade students in Butte County. And that's a big project that I've been working on the past few months. I'm very excited about it. So that conference really focuses on building social connections, well-being, and leadership skills for students. And so we're going to have a keynote speaker, a variety of workshops throughout the day. Olive Garden is providing the lunch for us, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah. I'll volunteer.
Yeah. And then we'll have a culminating event. We're doing like a Family Feud style event that'll be youth led. So it'll be a really awesome day. It's going to be Thursday, April 21st on the CSU Chico campus from 8:30 to 3:30 p.m.
At the hub, or do you know?
It'll be in the BMU.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, BMU 203, and we'll have breakout sessions with different workshops.
Okay, great. That's awesome. And then you have an evening with Catalyst.
Yes, so that's our annual fundraiser that happens. It'll be May 20th this year. And it happens at the Palms, and it'll just be kind of a nice opportunity for people to come together and celebrate Catalyst. We do silent auction, and we also do some live auction items, including desserts from local bakeries in the community.
That's awesome. Very awesome. Thank you so much for coming on
Definitely.
tonight
Yes, thank
and
you for
telling us
having
about
us.
Catalyst. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next week, our guest will be Sevi Christian from CSU BCAC. If any of you are interested in appearing on our show as a guest to either promote an event or showcase your own business or talent, please email us at therainbowr@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page, The Rainbow Review. The Rainbow Review is dependent on support from the community. If you are interested in sponsoring our show, please contact us for details. All contributions are tax deductible. And that is our show for this week. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful night.
It's got that going.
Awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
Cool.
that works because I think that will be perfect. Did you want to take selfies of yourself?
Yes. Thank you.
Wait a minute, I want to take a picture because I'm going to put it up on our Facebook page.
I guess we could do
Yeah.
a group photo for
Yeah,
Instagram.
why don't you? No, come on. Do your ace face.
Nice.
There, everyone's smiling.
Okay, here, do mine too, please.
You want to go from here?
Oh, that's fine. Where you just were is fine. So now we have to act natural again.
Again.
Natural. Say natural.
Natural.
Because this one's going on